Hi everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Lamplight City. We have just taken on a brand new case that involves the Justice Killer. Now, I don't know if this is the final case in the game. I've got a feeling that Francisco, the developer, told me there were 5 cases, and I think this is case 5, but don't quote me on that. We had all of these police sketches and things here. We've been given all sorts of things. There's a newspaper here. We're going to look around the flat a bit first, Upton's apartment. Although I think we probably have looked at most of this, but the newspaper looks like we can click on it. So let's have a look at this. New Britannia Gazette. Atwood under fire for alleged cooping scheme. Okay. Citizens fear mass murderer. So that's probably the Justice Killer. Arrest made in tragic election night murder, which we did last time. Gascon spiritualist arrested for fraud. Angela Maxwell has been arrested on charges of fraud. That's the Spectre Society lady. That's interesting. Well, that's quite funny. Let's have a look at... I think, didn't we get some files or something? Find the Justice Killer. Investigate Percival McDonough's office at the Houses of Parliament. I'm sure... Yes, okay, the police reports from the previous crimes. Those were given to us by Snelling, weren't they? Let's start with Hannibal Kirkland. Victim name, Hannibal Kirkland, 32. Cause of death, single gunshot to the head. Occupation, ironworker at Thurban Ironworks, Chumney. Police found Kirkland in his home after his foreman reported Kirkland's absence from work. Apart from the word justice written in blood, nothing unusual was found at the crime scene, and no witnesses came forward. Investigation into Kirkland's personal life and habits revealed nothing of interest. Reggie Willingham, 47, single gunshot to the head. Cabby for Coulson's Cabs. Police found Willingham in his home after a missing persons report was filed by his employer. Crime scene was inspected, but aside from the word justice written on the wall in blood, nothing unusual was found. No witnesses came forward. An investigation into Willingham's personal life and habits revealed nothing of interest. So, straight away, we're seeing the single gunshot to the head as a potential method of killing these people. We knew about the word justice, and we also found the flowers in the pictures when we examined them. Ennis Bowditch, 29, cause of death, single gunshot to the head again. Construction worker at Gascon Chumley Bridge. So they often seem to be like public service workers. Police found Bowditch in his home after his employer contacted police. It's always the employer contacting the police as well. So perhaps no family? Crime scene showed signs of modus operandi of the so-called Justice Killer, but no other leads or clues were found. No witnesses came forward. Investigation and questioning of Bowditch's co-workers and former lady friend proved fruitless. Burley Cause, age 26, single gunshot to the head again. So that's definitely the MO, isn't it? Lamplighter working from the Central Lamp Depot in Worcester. Officer Douglas Parsons discovered Cause in his home after a report of a gunshot was made by neighbour Ethel Williamson. So this one was slightly different. Parsons surveyed the scene and found the word justice written in blood, but no other leads or clues. Investigation into Cause's personal life and habits provided no further clues or leads. Okay, so... interesting. There was nothing else here, right? 1 copper. Just want to make sure there's no clues about the Justice Killer in this bit. General mood around New Britannia is Justice Killer. No link between them. Well, there definitely is a link between them. I have no idea who's going to be next. Rumours of a curfew have been swirling. No, okay. Fine. So... let's head off. Oh, God, we've got a lot of places we can go to. We can go to the cab depot, the lamp depot, the police station, the Houses of Parliament, the bridge construction site, or the ironworks. Now, the only thing that we've actually got is the Houses of Parliament in our book. So, I guess let's start there, and then maybe we'll get a clue. Hey!
Fordham, what brings you to this delightful
He's
spectacle?
here.
Hello, Edwards. I'm investigating the Justice Killer. I believe I've got a very promising lead.
I heard an officer mention new orders from Snelling, but I thought he was just pulling my leg. Feel free to have a look around. I'm just writing up the notes from my initial examination of the body, so I'll be happy to share my findings.
Okay.
Good. I'll just get started then.
Fine. We'll take a look around and then maybe we'll have a chat. Right, there's the blood with justice.
Looks pretty fresh. I wonder what the killer uses to write with.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's not the victim's blood, because even though a single gunshot to the head could cause a lot of blood, that's quite a lot of blood to write that. So let's have a look at this. Anything in the
Nothing
drawers?
but a bunch of boring documents. You'd think he could have at least been considerate enough to keep something scandalous in here.
Books.
These appear to be books on cryptography. I suppose everyone needs a hobby.
Cryptography. Okay, so what is cryptography? Is that like codes and stuff? I'm not too sure actually. We've got the body here.
Former Percival McDonough, being a good politician.
Okay, we've got a calendar. Okay.
Nothing has been written in yet for next month. Curious.
Why is this? Yeah, look, someone's taken October off. So that's November's calendar.
Odd. The page for this month has been torn out. Do you suppose Edwards might know anything about that?
So someone's torn off October, so potentially there was something on here. Maybe a meeting scheduled in with the killer or something, and then the killer's stolen this, so there's nothing to link them together. Maybe. Got all these things here. The flag. Anything out the window?
No signs of forced entry that I can see. The murderer didn't come in through this window.
He didn't, which means I would guess he was invited in, maybe for a meeting with the government official here. So perhaps that would link into the calendar.
Leave it to a politician to hang a portrait of himself in his own office.
That's true. That is very egotistical. Right, Edwards.
Got a moment, Edwards?
Of course. What's on your mind?
Tell us all about this, please. The crime scene. Let's ask about himself first.
Does it feel good to be out of the office?
As long as I have the chance to examine a body and learn something in the process, I don't care where I am. Though I do admit a preference to working in my own environment. Fieldwork can be a bit uncertain.
Yeah.
There's
okay.
so much more potential for contamination, especially with those clumsy officers trouncing about groping everything. Present company excluded, of course.
Yeah. Obviously. The crime scene.
So, what was found at the crime scene?
A dead body.
Edwards.
Hey, just trying to lighten the mood a bit. Anyway, there was also the word justice written in blood, as you can see on the floor there.
Is that all?
What more do you need? All the pieces are in place. This is the work of the justice killer.
They're not, though. Because I don't think we saw a flower anywhere. Let's ask about the body.
What did your examination of the body turn up?
Apparent cause of death was a single gunshot to the head, exactly like all the other victims. The bullet is still lodged in his brain. I'll remove it once I transport the body back to the mortuary.
Okay.
Anything else?
No personal effects of note, just a folded up piece of paper in his breast pocket.
Paper.
It's blank, so the police weren't interested. I assume you aren't either.
Never assume, Edwards. I'll take it if you don't mind.
Be my guest.
Could it be the page that was torn out of the calendar? Let's ask about the police investigation.
Did the police manage to learn anything during their investigation?
Not much beyond what I've already told you. I think they were planning on speaking to the victim's wife, though.
Did you get the address?
I did, as a matter of fact. 1820 Kent Place.
Cool.
Now we get to deal with the grieving widow. Hopefully the officers who delivered the news got the worst of it.
Bill's back then, I see. So ask about the Easter Lilly.
Did you find an Easter Lilly anywhere?
An Easter Lilly?
Yes. The justice killer leaves one at every crime scene.
Is that right? I never noticed.
Neither did anyone else, apparently.
Yeah, only
So
us.
how does leaving a lily at the scene of the crime figure into all of this?
I'm still trying to figure that out, but I think it might be important to understanding his motive.
Well, be sure to let me know if you do figure it out. The thought process of killers is a twisted, curious thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been watching the Jeffrey Dahmer thing on Netflix recently, and yeah, absolutely right. The Justice Killer. Also, I don't think we saw an Easter Lily, did we?
What's your take on this whole justice killer situation?
It's giving me a lot of extra work, let me tell you. We haven't had a serial murderer in a long time. Not since that fellow who was poisoning people about 10 years ago.
Okay.
Ah, yes. Gascon Ghoul. Now there was a case.
Any theories or insights regarding the killer's motive or identity?
That's not really my specialty.
Okay.
If you want to get into that psychology stuff, you're better off talking to someone like Snelling.
Do we have to? Let's ask about the calendar.
Edwards, do you notice McDonough's desk calendar?
I did. This month has been torn out. I asked the officers investigating the scene, and they had no idea what happened to it.
So it wasn't found in this room?
That's right. My theory is that the killer took it.
Yeah, that was my
Which
theory.
means there was probably something incriminating written on it.
Yep.
If only there was some way of knowing what it was.
Miles, have you forgotten the oldest trick in the book? Just find a pencil and you'll have that information in no
I was
time.
literally about to say that.
Edwards, do you have a pencil I might borrow?
Of course. Take this.
Nice. Yes, Edwards. Okay, so we're going to do the old
That's
shading.
all for now, Edwards.
Good luck with your investigation.
We're going to do the old shading to see what the imprint of the pencil was, right? Okay.
A classic trick. Let's see if it works.
Okay. Let's do this. Hopefully we haven't got, like, limited lead or whatever on the pencil. So far, nothing really starting to appear. Still nothing starting to appear. Come on, there's got to be something on here. The killer wouldn't have stolen it for no reason. Here we go. Two things. Ruby 8 AM is that? And T Shackley 10 PM. What else have we got? Anything else? What was the date today? There was a date on the newspaper, wasn't there? So I wonder if we can relate that to the date to potentially narrow that down. Was it the 22nd of October? I think it might have been. So there's Ruby and T Shackley.
Aha! McDonough met with this person the night of the murder.
T
I'll bet
Shackley.
500 crowns it's a false name, but at least it's something.
Yeah, so T Shackley must be the name of the person that he met with the night of the murder. That's definitely suspicious, right?
Intriguing. We'll need to find out who this Ruby is.
Yeah, Ruby could be important as well.
It seems the killer didn't want anyone to know about this meeting with McDonough, and possibly not with Ruby either.
Yeah.
It seems the killer didn't want anyone to know about...
Okay, we heard that. Right, well that's
No
interesting.
time to waste with further conversation right now. You've got a killer to find.
Fine. Okay, so let's no, I wanted to go to the casebook. So we need to... That hasn't gone away for some reason. Speak with Mrs McDonaugh is the next one and find out the identity of Ruby. I just want to just see if there is a... I don't see a Lily anywhere.
The
Unless
former
it's-
Percival McDonough, being a good politician.
No, unless it's on the body, but it doesn't look like it. Alright, so we have to see McDonough next, right? So, okay, McDonough Residence. Let's head there, because that's the next one we've got in our book. So is this the wife? I think it is, isn't it?
What? Who are you?
I'm Miles Fordham, private investigator. Your butler just announced me.
Oh, of course. Forgive me. I was just, well, never mind. Please make yourself comfortable, Mr. Fordham.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. McDonough.
Right, let's have a look around, shall we? What have we got here? Knickknacks.
They look expensive, but I bet they're totally worthless. I feel sorry for the sucker who has to clean them.
True, yeah. More
They
knickknacks.
look expensive, but
No, same thing.
just a painting of some boring old aristocrat. This one looks like a Lady Camilla Prudence Wigglewaddle the Grey. I think I'll call this one Lord Edmund Henry Lickspittle the Elder.
Well, at least Bill's being a little nicer.
Lord Alfred Edward Shufflebottom the Wise comes to mind when looking at this one.
Oh dear.
Surely this one was called Lady Felicity Euphemia Beaversnatch the Simple.
Fine. What?
They look expensive, but
Knickknacks. And then we can't do anything with the fire. Can't do anything with the chairs. There's nothing on the table. Right, okay. Let's talk to McDonough.
I appreciate you seeing me, Mrs. McDonough. I know you must be going through a difficult time right now.
What exactly is it you want from me, Mr. Fordham? I already spoke to the police about my husband's murder.
I just have a few questions of my own.
Oh, very well.
Thank you. Won't take long. Or it might take long, actually. Let's ask about herself.
How are you feeling, Mrs. McDonough?
My husband of 42 years was shot in his office. How do you think I feel?
All right.
Tactful as always, Fordham. How do you do it?
My apologies. Perhaps that wasn't the most appropriate question. Is there anything I can do to help?
You can start by finding the monster who murdered Percival.
Okay, let's ask about Percival.
What can you tell me about your husband?
I'll tell you the same thing I told the police, Mr. Fordham. Percival was one of the hardest working members of Parliament. He took his job extremely seriously. The recent election caused him a terrible amount of consternation, as I'm sure it did most people. He took Atwood's loss rather hard.
Did you see much of him?
I beg your pardon?
Surely someone with such an important position in government could find themselves consumed by their work. Did he spend much time at home?
He made it a point to come home and have dinner with me every night, even if he had to return to the office afterwards.
Okay.
And did that happen often?
At least 3 or 4 times in a week, yes. He'd stay in his office working late into the night. As I said, he was very dedicated to his role.
Sounds to me like she's quite dedicated to hers, too.
Yeah, or there was something dodgy going on. Enemies.
Did your husband have any enemies?
He was a politician, Mr. Fordham. Half the city hated him.
Did he ever receive any kind of threats against his life?
None that I was ever made aware of. I have no idea who could have killed him, let alone who could have gotten into his office to do it. He hadn't told me about any meetings or appointments this week either.
Huh.
Was it his custom to inform you of his work affairs?
Oh, well, I've always taken an interest in my husband's work. He'd often mention initiatives he was working on or people he was meeting, that sort of thing. Nothing sensitive or confidential, you understand. Just conversation about his day.
Okay, interesting. So, the Ruby and the other person she didn't know about. Motive.
Can you think of any reason why your husband would have been murdered?
Not really. He was a vocal opponent of the construction of the Gascogne-Chumley Bridge. But I
Right.
hardly think that would have been sufficient reason to drive someone to murder.
Why is that?
Well, it's just a bridge, isn't it? There are plenty of other ways to get to Chumley.
Yeah.
I meant, why was he opposed to it?
Oh, because the amount of money required to build it is exorbitant. Public funds should be used on roads and buildings that are falling apart. What's the point of having something shiny and new if everything around it is in disrepair?
Yeah, fair. Cryptography.
Are you familiar with the art of cryptography, Mrs. McDonough?
What an odd question.
It's just, I noticed several books on the subject in your husband's office.
Oh, well, yes. Percival was interested in cryptography and secret messages and the like. He would sometimes leave me coded notes when we first began courting many
Yeah, so it
years
is
ago.
codes, it is.
What kind of notes?
Oh, now, Mr. Fordham, those were private. But Percival got a thrill out of knowing I was the only one who could read them.
Okay.
Sometimes he would write them using a special ink that would only appear when the paper was heated. I can't remember the last time he did that, though.
The blank paper. I bet the blank paper's got something on it. So it's when it gets heated. We'll have to try that out. Let's ask about Shackley.
Do you know anyone named Shackley?
No, I've never heard that name before. Why?
I saw your husband had a meeting scheduled with him shortly before his murder.
That can't be right. He didn't tell me about that. He always told me about his meetings.
It was written on his office calendar, clear as day.
As I said, I don't know who that person is. Why wouldn't Percival have told me about their meeting?
Why indeed?
Very why indeed. Should we ask about Ruby? Yeah,
Are
let's
you
ask about
familiar
Ruby.
with someone named Ruby?
I can't say I am. Who is it?
Just a name that's come up in my investigation.
Sounds like the name of a trollop. Or perhaps a dog.
Okay, let's ask about the Justice Killer.
Have you heard of the Justice Killer?
That was the name the police mentioned when they told me about Percival's murder. It's absolutely terrifying to think that one sick person could be capable of such evil. Why is he called the Justice Killer? What justice was done by murdering my husband?
Very good
I'm
question.
afraid I can't answer that right now, Mrs. McDonough, but I intend to find out. Those are all the questions I have for now, Mrs. McDonough.
All right, Mr. Fordham.
Okay, so I'm thinking the blank paper has got a coded message on it and we're going to have to heat it up to figure out what the message is. But we're out of time, guys, so we'll do that in the next one. So as always, thank you very much for watching. A big thank you to my patrons, Arcades Games, Wayne, Nate, Terminally Nerdy, Paul from the Phantom Fellows, Lyle, Barry Aldridge and Hobo for all the support on the channel. I really do appreciate it. And I'll see you next time.